All right, Nigerians spend so much on medical tourism. Not only that, maternal and infant mortality ratio still remains quite high, not to mention the poor state of infrastructure. Many government-owned hospitals and care centers across the country. These are only a few of the challenges facing Nigeria's health sector. It is only a question of time before Nigerians get a new health minister, and setting the agenda for whoever the candidate will be could help highlight areas of priority, begging for urgent attention within the health sector. That's the crux of our next discussion. Joining us in the studio to talk on this, as well as other issues around it, is Dr. Rasheed Abati, Chief Medical Director, Heritage Men's Clinic. It's nice to have you join us, Dr.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
All right. Now, we have often known that when it comes to the health sector in Nigeria, we talk about the inadequacies in so many areas because government has not been consistently investing, especially when it comes to budgetary allocation, when you talk of attracting the private sector to participate intentionally. We've not seen all of those. And that was why during the COVID, there were projections that, in Africa, Nigeria inclusive, people were going to drop dead on the streets. It was going to be because the health infrastructure or the health system is very weak and so on. Of course, we didn't see that happen in that context. Of course, that is not to say there wasn't the impact of COVID, but someone said recently that the way Nigerians navigate health, it looks like there's a miracle around it, because if you want to juxtapose it against the reality, things should have been worse. Speak to us from this window.
Absolutely. And talking about the COVID, I think we actually dodged a big bullet. But the reality on the ground is we're really far behind the 8 ball when it comes to healthcare, infrastructure development, and even the other variables. Recently, we've been seeing a lot of exodus of Nigerian doctors. That is a major one. Even in the US, we don't have enough doctors. So not to talk of Nigeria, where our population actually exceeded the number. If you look at the ratio of Nigerian doctors to patients, it's overwhelming. It's not sustainable. But the bigger part of your point is we've been lacking in terms of how much our government has even been helping. But I'm from the opinion where, I'm based in the US. I think the government needs to provide a fertile ground for private investment. It's not sustainable to even expect our government to be the only one to carry this load. Because we're talking, let's take Lagos, for example. Lagos is exceeding 20 million. We don't have enough hospitals. Washington, D.C., as an example, if we can use that, we're less than 740,000 people. We have 7 major hospitals, and we said it's not enough. They just built the 8th one. And we're talking the lack of hospitals where anything can be done. So the kind of load we have here begs that we need another approach. We need a situation where the government can make it friendly for private investors to come in and augment what the government is already doing or not doing. Because once the private investment comes in, the free market will help. Healthcare is something we all need. You alluded to how much money we spend in terms of medical tourism. Medical tourism, as at now, we spend excess of $2 billion. That is dollars we don't have. And guess what? We're not going out for primary care. We're going for specialized care. The only way we can get that amended is to allow private investment.
Right. And, well, we always talk about, PPP, the public-private partnership, and all that. There's some form of this kind of, involvement here in Nigeria, but is it really a thriving industry? As in, do you see this as the perfect environment for private investment to thrive in, looking at the enormous challenges?
God knows. Let me give you as an example. I have been coming to Nigeria every two weeks. Just two weeks. Think about that. And I have a primary clinic that, unfortunately, I focus only on men. It's been thriving. I cannot handle the load. So if we look at sheer numbers and the need, and to completely add that to the fact that we don't have enough doctors, and the fact that we are focused with a lot of chronic issues, the likes of high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, heart attack, this is a fertile ground. All we need is another environment. So I went out looking to the banks to expand my present clinic because the need is there. I cannot pay 27% interest loan. It's not sustainable because there's no way to magically make that. So if the government steps in with any kind of healthcare targeted fund, we're not asking for free. Cap the interest rate. Developed countries do that. They do that for teachers. They do that for sectors where they know is lacking.
It's critical.
It's critical. Because if we don't pay the price now, we pay invaluable lives lost. And when we are exporting dollars in terms of medical tourism, there's no way we're getting that back. And we have tons of Nigerian doctors abroad willing to come home.
Wow. Willing to come home.
Willing to come home.
And we have another ton from home willing to leave. What an irony. No, but these are the realities anyway. It's more serious. It's really serious. But we have seen the list of nominees that the president has sent to the Senate. And, of course, portfolios were not attached to the names. But by profession, if you read the background of some of them are medical doctors by profession. And in their own respect, you know, they're qualified people. It depends now, it behoves the president to do who to become what by the time they're screened. But if we have to set agenda looking forward to what kind of minister should mount the Ministry of Health, considering the challenges that you were talking about, what should we be looking at? What should Nigerians be expecting?
Doctors are not good administrators. I will be looking for a good administrator, a good technocrat, because this is a major one. So we need someone that can bring the private, the finance part, and look at the epidemiology. We're having a lot of, you talked about the child mortality rate, that's huge. So we need someone that has the ability to manage what the healthcare need of reality is and how to get it funded.
So not necessarily that medical doctor who is going to be in the hospitals.
Absolutely. Doctors are, you know, we're not good managers. We know how to do the injection, we know how to diagnose and all that, but we need a good technocrat because this is a major industry.
Yeah, if you're talking about technocrat, is technocrat in health or technocrat generally who can do business or who can merge private sector, public sector, you know, that thing?
A good technocrat that can merge all this. These are big variables, and these are big variables with big egos. So you need someone that knows what he or she is doing, that says, look, we need this, and as a corporate social responsibility, we need to take care of this. So bring it together, because finance is it. And the reality is healthcare, the rest of the world, is a business. There is a component of it that, you know, drags us morally, that we need to take care of all this, but it's very expensive. We cannot and we should not expect the government to carry the load alone. So we need someone, a good technocrat that knows how to manage and knows how to keep the books going, because we need to be able to prepare for years, for decades to come. We're not looking for just a short fix. We need someone that knows what they're doing. Be it a doctor, good.
Right. And looking at the lineup so far, we have a former Minister of State for Health. We also have a former Commissioner of Health. You know, of course, that's what we know so far. And, you know, looking at these names again, they are also, you know, reputable. They are notable names with considerable experience. But how much of that do you think we need? Looking at these are recurring problems. We're even living in the times of the resident doctors, you know, on strike. And so what are your expectations in this regards, that perhaps whoever comes on board as substantive and maybe a supporting minister has to be somebody who has been there, who has walked, you know, these familiar corridors and perhaps will, you know, be able to tackle these issues better?
No, that's very, very important. We need someone, this is not the time to bring an outsider who's a novice. We need someone in the trenches, someone who really understands the laid out. Yes, the resident doctors is one arm. We're talking about private sector. We're talking about the current managers of our family health care, the FMCs, the health centers. So we need someone already in there and that has the gravitas to be able to bring everybody to the table. This is not where one side must win, everybody. There's not going to be a win-win situation, because you are trying to bring a lot of fragmented areas. They've never been brought together before. So you need someone that has, basically, he has the clout of the government. The president hopefully will endorse that person and say, look, go ahead, this is our agenda, because it's a big issue. And if we don't tackle it now, it may bring the whole economy down.
Well, it's still just striking my mind when you say, well, medical doctors are not necessarily good administrators in that sense. That is not to say a lot of them are not good. A lot of them are, in fact, under late Professor Oliko Iransom Kuti, that was the peak of the time that Nigeria had the best healthcare when we measured them back to back from independence until now, when he focused on the primary healthcare at that time. But let's talk about the issue of, you cited instance of Washington earlier. Now, we're talking of a hospital that does everything that can. what would it take to have that kind of an arrangement where you walk into a hospital, you know that if you have cancer, there's an area, you have whatever, there's an area, so that when you walk in, psychologically, you know that these people can attend to me. In fact, with that alone, the healing process has started already.
That is a major one, because if you look at the trend from developed countries now, they're looking for what is called a one-stop shop. I come in, because the fear for us in the medical profession is I don't want to lose my patients. When I have to send you to A to go and get an X-ray done, and I have to send you to another place to get an MRI done, considering the situation in Nigeria, finances and all that, the patient may not follow up. But let's think about it. This will be wishful thinking if we can get it done here. It's a one-stop place. We need government backing. We need private sector to come in. It could be a regional section. So region for Southwest, we may have 1 or 2 of such hospitals. Of course, because we are afraid of them being overwhelmed, so we're still going to need pockets of tertiary care area that could be referring patients to this place. But that is the dream. That would be the mecca of all medical professionals, where you come in, no matter what you're coming for, that specialist is in-house. You don't need to go anywhere. And the psychological impact will be better, not to talk about the cost. We waste money when we are sending patients here and there, and we waste lives. We waste valuable time. But if you can have it done under one roof, and trust me, I believe this administration has what it takes.
All right. What do you think of all right.
Before you go, you asked a question. Let's go on a short break, and then we'll come back on this, because Nigerians are really interested in, when it comes to health. They say health is wealth.
Health is wealth.
That's how it goes. Now, stay with us on TVC Breakfast. We'll be right back on this.